All right. It is now 12:01. If anyone joins in a little late, they can join in a little late. But happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm seeing some familiar names in the chat, but if we don't know each other, hello. I am Arely Herrera. My pronouns are she, they, and I am the Supplier Diversity Program Manager for the Chamber. Thank you so much for being here today for today's webinar, Level Up Your SEO Game, presented by JC of In Context. We've previously had a webinar with In Context focusing on Google Your Business, and this will kind of be a, a
A little
God,
more advanced.
yeah, kind of growing off of that, more knowledge. Um, In Context is a longtime member, very active in the community, and we're really grateful to have them presenting today and working with us again. So thank you so much for being here. It looks like we have a great group together today, and we can go ahead and get started. Just in case you're unfamiliar with the Zoom webinar format, Zoom disables chat, but there is a question and answer function which I'll keep an eye on throughout the webinar. So if you have any questions or concerns, please put them in the Q&A section and I'll address them in the webinar. We will also be recording this webinar for a few people who couldn't make this session, or, just if you want to go back and reference anything we talk about today. And this is our second webinar in our lead series, where we are kind of doing these like lunch and learn type webinars where people can gain supplemental skills to help grow their business. So thank you so much for being a part of that, JC. And I will go ahead and let you take it away, introduce yourself.
All right, thanks. Hi, everybody. My name's JC Cheney. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the owner of In Context SEO. And yeah, I've really enjoyed working with the Chamber over the last few years. I've met lots of great business owners and friends through the Chamber, and I'm happy to share my knowledge and kind of introduce myself to the community and let people know that I'm here and available to for just to network and help you grow your business if that's something you're interested in pursuing. So yeah, I put together to get today a overview of Google Search Console for anybody who's not familiar with it. Let me just share my screen. And so today we're going to talk about kind of a broad overview of what SEO is and how Google provides tools, which is the Google Search Console, for you to understand how your website is being seen and how you can help basically do search engine optimization. So thanks for joining us today. This is a great graphic that I put together basically as kind of a way for you to understand how Google sees you as a business and or a person. It's a way that they kind of connect the dots between different facts about you. So this is something I saw somebody do and I put together for myself. So as I mentioned, I'm the founder of In Context SEO. I'm a lifelong Wisconsinite. I went to UW-Milwaukee for both my undergrad and my graduate degree in an MBA in e-commerce. I've worked at a company called Proficient, which is a large digital marketing and basically enterprise level e-commerce provider as the website migration lead. And a fun fact I like to bring up is that I do have a connection, the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon situation, where my family business provided the stair lift in the Gremlins movie. And Kevin Bacon actually read for the lead role in that movie. So the part where the old lady gets kind of shot out the window, if anybody watched that last Christmas. So this is kind of how Google sees you. They connect the dots online. What are you connected to? What links do you have to your website? And so it's a good way to just kind of illustrate the way that Google sees you as an entity. That's what they call it. Our mission is to make content marketing accessible for subject matter experts. So we don't just work with businesses, we work with nonprofits, we work with anybody who wants to provide knowledge out there into the world with the website. And we provide a tried and true framework to build online presence for these subject matter experts. Just a brief overview of our services, just to help you get to know us a little bit and think about whether or not your business or a business that you know of might be benefit from working with us. We primarily do content creation on the website to help you get visibility to match your match your content and your website to user search results. We also do website development and hosting, technical SEO audits, lead generation, data analysis and tracking, and social media management. So we'll get into the education part of it as well. So I just wanted to give a brief overview, very simplistic explanation of what search engine optimization is. So I found this graphic, very, very basic. So the term spider is used to indicate the technology that Google uses to crawl and understand websites. And then they use their natural language processor. So basically how do they interpret the content on your website to understand what you're all about, and then it takes that content, determines whether it's valuable, and then puts it in its index. That is kind of a part that people kind of don't understand, is like you have to actually have valuable content to be indexed. And then once you're indexed, they use the algorithm to match your content with users' queries. And that, that's the back and forth. There's lots of hundreds of different pieces of that algorithm. So my job is to kind of re-engineer and figure out what is working and what is not working, and how to get your content to show up in the search engines. And another thing I like to point out is that search engines are not just Google. Google is the #1 search engine, but Amazon is actually a search engine, LinkedIn is a search engine, Facebook, and any website that has a search feature is a search engine, obviously. Some are more prominent than the others. LinkedIn is actually becoming, alongside Google and Amazon, one of the largest search engines that people are using every day. So today's topic is Google Search Console specifically. So I wanted to give a deep dive into all the different features. They're actually changing this, on a weekly basis, adding different features, allowing you to do different things. So Google Search Console, it used to be called Google Webmaster Tools. So forgive me if I say that incorrectly. I think they moved away from Webmaster Tools just to make it a little bit more user friendly. So the first step in using Google Search Console is to go to search.google.com/search console. You can also Google Search Console most likely, and that'll probably get you to where you need to be as well. And if you don't already have a property verified in this interface, then you can select verify your property, and then you'll see this page show up. You can verify different sections of your site using the right side of the screen, or you can verify the entire domain. That's typically what people do to get started. And then from there, there's a variety of different ways to verify. I have provided, and I'll send this presentation out as well to everybody who's attended today, so that you can look at the more detailed guide with the step-by-step instructions. Once you click on verify your domain, you have a few different options. So this is straight from Google's documentation. I've highlighted the blue section here is what you can use if you've got like a WordPress site or a Wix site, where you're just basically taking a verification tag, copying and pasting that into your back end of your website, and then you can verify that level. It's a little, what I call a little bit of a looser verification, where it's kind of, if somebody removes that tag, then you lose verification. If somebody switches that tag to a different tag, then you'll lose verification. Then analytics, oops, sorry about that. Analytics is another way. You can either verify with Google Analytics that you have on the website, because they're kind of tied together. You just have to make sure you have the same user, the same email account for both Analytics and Google Search Console, so they can communicate with each other, or another tool called Google Tag Manager. So if you have either of those things implemented on the website, then you'll get verification. Again, if those tags are removed, or you lose access to those analytics tags, then you'll lose verification and ownership of Google Search Console. And then lastly, which I believe is the strongest and the one I recommend for people that actually own the website, if you have access to your domain name server, then you can actually go in there and add a record, and then that's how you verify. That's a much stronger way to verify it, and you're able to then control and delegate ownership to different people so that you can remove ownership, and you don't have to deal with people going into your backend and changing different things, which are the first two options. And then here's a good infographic to kind of identify the main benefits and features of Google Search Console is primarily performance tracking. So it'll show you actually what queries, what search terms people have searched, and what pages are showing up for those search terms. And we'll go in a deeper dive into that a little bit later. And then indexing insights. So as I mentioned before, you have pages on your website. Google is reviewing those pages and determining whether they should even be put in the index. And this will tell you whether your pages are indexed or they're not indexed and why. It'll actually list out reasons why your information is not being indexed. That's really where we're getting into the technical SEO side of things here. And sitemap submission. So you can actually create a XML file of all the pages on your website, and you can create that a sitemap XML and submit it to Google, and then it will crawl those pages. And whenever you make an update, it should see that those pages are updated with a different date on the sitemap XML, and that'll give you a little faster submission, a little faster review from Google if you have these technical things implemented. And then lastly, mobile usability. Google is a mobile first thought process. So they do look at your website as a mobile device first. So a lot of people, working, especially business owners, look at their website from a desktop perspective, and they don't necessarily look at their website from a mobile perspective as often. But that is how Google sees it. So if you have something not showing up or something, suppressed on mobile that isn't shown on mobile but is shown on desktop, then you might be at a disadvantage. All right, so this is a screenshot of performance report just to give you an idea of the different features. They did in the last few weeks roll out the 24-hour feature. For a long time, it had been a delay, hadn't provided information for within the last 24 hours. So it is giving us a little bit more readily available information. And they did change the navigation as well and how things are filtered. So they have the 7 days, 28 days, 3 months. You can go all the way back to 16 months. That's the most amount of data that you have. And something I'll say about that is if you verify Google Search Console once, if anybody's verified it, then the data is collected continuously. If you've never verified Google Search Console, you will not have any data when you go in there and verify it. So that's something that I really encourage people to do if they have a website, even if they're never going to look at the data in the next year. Just make sure to go and verify that data so that the data is being collected and you have something to look back on and when you're ready to start considering what to do next or how to optimize the data. That's something that it's a little bit of a shortfall that when I work with new customers, I have to establish that, and we, kind of have to go and back and we don't have the historical data to kind of analyze and see what the trends were year over year, if we're gaining ground or if we're just kind of like treading water. So just wanted to point that out in this slide here. And the next one, which is also a tool that I think is a little known even across SEO people, is that you can actually go into Google and type in, once you have it verified, you can put a URL in there. If you've launched a new page, if you've updated something significantly, or if you just want Google to come and look at your website, you can put in your homepage, you can put in your specific blog post, any specific URL, and have it crawl that page. So it gets queued up and it is able to crawl it. Not only to let Google know that you've updated something, but it also tells you, as it shows on the screen here, whether or not your page is indexed, whether or not it's serving appropriately from a secure perspective, and whether or not it has something like a breadcrumb or other. You can also put what they call metadata or schema.org on the website to give Google a lot more information. And then you can request indexing. So if a page isn't indexed, if it's new, or if there's an issue that you just resolved, you can click there and ask it to crawl it at a later date. So it's not going to happen right away. It'll send a little message. It'll pop up a little message letting you know that that it's queued up and Google will come by and take a look at it. As I mentioned before, this is a little bit of the getting into the technical SEO side of things, but once you created a sitemap XML, you can submit that sitemap into Google directly, and then it'll stay there until that sitemap is no longer available or until you remove it. And this sitemaps are typically pretty easy to generate with most websites nowadays, WordPress and Wix. You just have to kind of know what to do that. But the next report here is indexing coverage. So it's letting you know, as I mentioned, whether something's indexed or whether it's not indexed and what the reason is behind those pages not being indexed. And that gives you a little bit of a hit list to be able to understand what you maybe need to change in order to let those pages get indexed. A lot of times with websites, especially smaller websites with WordPress websites, a lot of pages aren't indexed, but they're kind of created and don't need to be indexed. So that's one reason why you'll see in this example, like 45 pages aren't indexed. They're just pages that are helpful for the user, but not helpful for Google. So we put into place some parameters to let them know not to index those pages. So this is actually a healthy report that we're looking at here. And that's one reason why it's gray. So it's kind of a, it's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. It just as long as we're indexing what we want and not indexing what we don't want, then everything's healthy. And then mobile usability reports, I put an asterisk here just to highlight that you need to have enough traffic to really get reports from these. So in this case, I used a slightly bigger website to get this report here. So it's basically telling you whether or not the experience for users when they load the website, when they visit the website, if it's good, poor URLs or there's improvements to be made, they'll actually list out what improvements are. This is kind of still a newer tool, so I use it mostly for benchmarking. It does change, kind of the logic is changed every so often, so it's not necessarily something that is fully good or fully bad. It's just kind of like letting you know how Google's interpreting your website right now. And then lastly, if you have an e-commerce website, you can have product snippets. So this is something that helps you'll see like reviews in the product snippets. So it's data that's surrounding your search result, such as reviews, maybe even like site links, or frequently asked questions that come up because Google sees those things are relevant, and they'll show up in the search results. So this is only for e-commerce or publisher websites for if they have like such a thing, so like articles or recipes, for example. If you have information, as I mentioned before, the metadata is provided to Google, it's letting them know whether that metadata is being communicated and respected and utilized. All right, so I thought I'd take a live deep dive into the performance reports. This is the main section that I tell people to utilize, and I am using my client's website. She's on the call right now, Karen Block. So I want to, highlight that we have created a LGBT realtor page to let people know that she's a member of the community, and especially when people are looking for that. So we are going to take a look at the performance report here to kind of understand all the different things that you can glean from this report. So we have a pretty good result here. We're seeing an uptick in impressions. Karen's been doing a good job of adding more blog posts to her website, and that's probably letting Google know that she's a real live business and she's actively serving clients and they're happy with her. All the different things you can do to let Google know that because especially after the pandemic, Google's really changed their perspective. They want to see a living, breathing website. And one way to do that is to add a blog post every so often. And it doesn't have to be necessarily original content at this point. It just has to be something that, you've vetted and approved and decided is something valuable. So just to go back to Karen's website here, this is where she's posting her blogs. And when we post them, we also submit to Google, like I mentioned before, the indexation. So letting Google know directly through Google Search Console that these blogs are being posted and are available. So just taking a deep dive, I've expanded it all the way to the 16-month mark here. So you can kind of see the trend line over time. And you can also filter by query. So that's like, is there a certain term that you want to know whether or not you're showing up for? So that page, LGBT Realtor, is really trying to highlight whether or not people are searching the term LGBT Realtor. So we have a few different terms that came up here that we're showing up for. It's not showing any clicks. I will say that this data is not perfect. So there is another tool called Google Analytics, which gives you a lot more detail about whether or not somebody's actually visiting your website. This is really more to understand what types of search terms are being searched versus what types of search terms are actually bringing you clicks. So you kind of have to use both of them in conjunction and use this more of a trend line versus a tried and true, like somebody clicked on this versus Google Analytics will actually tell you if something is clicked on. So you can see that the primary page that's showing up for those LGBT relevant queries is the main page that we do want to show up for. If we saw multiple pages that maybe were similarly worded or something like that, would be what we call like a keyword cannibalization issue, where we might want to move information from one page to another, consolidate, make it clearer to Google that that's one single page that we want to show up. And you can also, as I mentioned, filter by page. So Karen is also a senior real estate professional or specialist working with seniors who are looking to downsize, or their children who are helping them transition to assisted living. So we can see that we have this page here that's showing up, and the other page, I believe, is maybe an old page. So we've gained impressions from that page, and then it automatically shows us the queries that are associated with that page when we drill down into it. And there's lots of other filters that kind of get, especially if you've got a bigger company, that may be showing other countries. Typically, especially for smaller websites, it's most likely only going to show United States, but it is, it's kind of hard to limit it just to one area, but it does show that we have a little bit of visibility in other countries, but obviously the primary area is United States. And then we can also look at device, like primarily what devices are being used. It looks like desktop has more impressions versus mobile has about half as many impressions. And then once you drill down into that, then that filters everything else. So these terms here are filtered then by device. Yeah, so it's very helpful to be able to understand the trends, and when you do update content, whether or not that's getting you more impressions versus if it's helping you get more visibility with as well as clicks. So one thing I didn't highlight yet is that there's different filters you can apply here. So the blue line is clicks, and then the purple line is impressions. You can look at just impressions. And then we also have an average click-through rate. So if you have a pretty stable amount of traffic coming from certain keywords on certain pages, the average click-through rate is something that if you're seeing that these pages are maybe on average being clicked through only like less than 1% of the time, that's where we would actually look at the content that's showing on the Google search results page, and try to optimize that content to improve the number of people who are actually clicking it. So we're not trying to increase the rank there. We're not trying to get more impressions. We've already done the job there. But then this is where we can actually try to entice users to click through by changing the messaging that shows up underneath your blue link, they call it. And then the average position is something, as I mentioned, if you're already in a good position, this is something that we can try to move higher. So this lower number here, we want it to actually go down. And something I'll point out is all these things kind of work in conjunction. So obviously average click-through rate is clicks divided by impressions. So if you get more impressions, if we're launching new pages, if we're doing a lot of work, the click-through rate will actually change in a negative way for a period of time before it starts, kind of leveling out, because we're getting more impressions because Google's doing kind of an A/B test. So it's a little bit difficult when you're first starting out. You want to kind of believe in the system, believe that adding the content to your website is going to be valuable, but you don't want to get too kind of tied to these numbers. I like to tell people it's a little bit like using the stock market. You're investing in your website, you're investing in the content, and the numbers that you're getting back are not necessarily something that should change the way you're working with your website. I really like to use this versus a qualitative or quantitative way of interpreting this. It's more of a qualitative. So are we getting more words? Like what types of words are we seeing coming in there? If we're already showing up for something, but we don't have content that matches that, and we do want to show up for that, we should create some content that matches that, and then we'll marry that information so that Google will have something to show. So yeah, we can take more questions at the end and, dive a little bit deeper into this. So just as a live example, these are all the different things that are showing up on the side here. Different websites will have different features. So like enhancements is, we have breadcrumbs on each page. But for like a e-commerce website, that's where the product, data would show up. And also this is the core web vitals, as you can see, once it loads, that's where it's going to say that we don't have enough traffic to have that information, just because they have a threshold that we're not meeting, but that's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. So just something to keep in mind. I really encourage everybody to, if you own a website, to verify with Google Search Console and make sure that that data is being collected. Let me go back to the presentation now. Yeah, so that's pretty much the overview that I have for you today. I just wanted to also highlight the different offerings that we have. We offer really an introductory package that will help you get this verified, help you kind of set those benchmarks to get the information that you need to gather to really do SEO down the road. And we also offer website management and domain maintenance. So if you have the domain and you have somebody you're working with who maybe they're not a good match, we offer that as well. Our bread and butter is content development and strategy. So where we basically, can be your one-stop shop for all of your website needs, and we'll work with you in a collaborative way to get that content on the website. So you act as the subject matter expert. We provide all the content, and you just really like mold it and decide what you want it to say. So we're never asking you to provide anything from a blank page perspective. We know that that's a big, sticking point. It's difficult for most people to come up with content, especially with content about themselves. So we provide that information, and then you just kind of review it and give your stamp of approval on it. And we also learn what we should be saying for your brand and what we shouldn't be saying, so we don't have to necessarily tell us don't say these things multiple times. And then lastly, the marketing vision and promotion suite, that's really something that most people will have to graduate into. That's our largest offering that we work with, a lot of enterprise level companies and e-commerce websites. That's really my background, and then I've offered these smaller packages to people that are just kind of getting started, because I have a passion that search engine optimization is not just for big websites. It can be valuable at a much smaller solopreneur level. Websites are very powerful and speak well, especially in a niche community like ours, just to make sure that we're communicating our values and working with people that we want to work with. So just a little bit more information about what SEO coaching is. This is a foundational product. So this is where we talk to you every month and we get all the technical SEO stuff implemented. We will help you get your Google Search Console set up and Google Analytics as well, so that you're understanding what is driving conversions on your website, whether that's a contact form fill or a phone call. We also provide reporting, and we use what we call an SEO scorecard to initially benchmark where you're at. And with everybody on the call here today, I'm happy to provide that to you if you'd like. And actually, yeah, at the end of the meeting, after we take questions, I'll have a link up there for you to go to my website and fill that out to get that information. Basically, we'll set up an introductory call and we'll chat more about what your business does and how maybe we can help you. And then we'll get access to whatever properties you have set up now, so we can do a deep review of your current situation and see what opportunities there are, or whether or not it's a good match to work together. So the main goal of SEO coaching is to maximize the ROI of your current or future marketing dollars. So it's not just search engine optimization, but we also look at it from a broader scale, like what are marketing initiatives you're doing offline? How are they translating online? If you're doing any sort of paid marketing. I just had a great one-on-one with somebody from a BNI group this morning that he was paying for certain leads. He doesn't know necessarily how those things are working together and how his work in the BNI network is bringing leads in to his website. So it's really just connecting the dots between offline and online, and then kind of educating you as well about and empowering you about what you can do until it makes sense and the ROI is there to show that, it's better to just offload those marketing efforts to somebody like me. All right, we can take questions now, and then we can just finish off with kind of like the offer that I want to extend to everybody on the call.
Thank you so much. I've been watching the chat. As of right now, there are no open questions. However, now is the time to ask those questions. Any questions, please do. If there's anything that was confusing, y'all, you gotta ask questions in order to understand.
Yep. Yeah, well,
We have, oh wait, you can also see the questions, can't you?
can I?
Um,
Something, yeah, I see Q&A spot here. So how
awesome.
long would you say it? Oh, I can read it. Yeah.
Go for it.
How long would you say it takes for a website to see improvements after this program? All right. Yeah, I mean, it depends on where we're at and kind of where I mentioned before, like, do we have the data to kind of benchmark and, have an understanding of where you are, where you were before and what efforts were before. So this is more of a foundational program versus where we're actually doing hands-on work and getting all the different any different SEO efforts in place. Obviously, we're highlighting in the coaching sessions what things you can do yourself or you could have your staff do to improve the visibility of your website. So it's really depends on his, I would say it's more of a what amount of effort you're putting into it and whether the collaboration is working well. So it a lot of people say it depends in my industry. So and any other questions? So I wanted to highlight the offer for the chamber members. So if you go to my website, the link here at in context SEO / LGBT chamber, you can submit your information there, and then I will follow up with you and get a meeting set up to provide this SEO scorecard presentation.
We do have someone with a raised hand. Let me see. I'm gonna allow you to talk.
Okay. Hi. So I really liked your presentation. I gotta undo my picture. This isn't me. This is just
Yeah,
somebody
hi
else that
Kathy.
uses my account. This is
Mhm.
Kathy River. So somebody
Yep.
asked, the previous person was asking a question about how you notice things, and I've worked with you a lot.
Mhm.
And your whole goal is to do this, to get me more business, to get me
Mhm.
more leads, to get me, to really define it very well. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to In Context
Thanks,
because
Kathy.
you're awesome at it, you know, and you're driven very clearly by leads, and then you also are like trying to make sure that people can close their leads. You don't
Mhm.
just let it drop there. like if there's some help or support needed. I'm trying to figure out, I don't know how to turn on my camera for this today, so people can see what I look like. But oh well, I'm not able to get in there. Oh well. But anyway, I just wanted to give you a shout out, okay?
All right, thanks, Kathy.
And I really liked your presentation, just so you know.
Oh,
It's
thank
really
you.
good.
Love to catch up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sorry. I also don't know how to turn your camera on. It is
Mhm.
giving you permission to allow people to unmute, but that's kind of the extent of it. Zoom webinar is a little funky like that. We do have someone else with a raised hand. Karen Block, go for it.
Mhm.
JC, that was a really great presentation, and you've done so much work on my website and my SEO. And one of the things we really concentrated on was LGBT realtor. And I get a lot of inquiries through my website based on that. And so I'm excited for the future to start doing more with like the seniors section. And
Mhm.
I have confidence that like I'll be getting the inquiries just like I'm getting the LGBT realtor inquiries. And I'm glad that, I'm not into all the data, but JC is, and I'm really glad that they're there to look at the data from the website and decide if we have deficiencies and what directions we should take. So with, the data to back it up. So I really appreciate our business relationship, and it's working out for me great.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. Thanks for coming
Hmm.
and letting me show the back end of all your data as well.
No problem.
Mhm. Yeah, great. Any other questions?
Are you going to be posting this on something on the chamber's website, so somebody could actually look at this too? Or
Yes,
because it said you're recording, because that could be something to show other people if they couldn't make it to the call today.
Yep.
absolutely. So, I do know that we also recorded the last one, the Google Your Business
Yeah, we did.
webinar, and this one has been recorded. I mentioned that this is the second installation of our lead webinar series, which is kind of, a lunch and learn. It's a newer series, so we're still kind of toying around and strategizing on the format, but either on a Google Drive or like a private YouTube channel, all of the lead webinar series will be recorded and available. So yes, this will always be available for you to look back on.
And then I'm going to put it on my
Thank you.
website and my YouTube channel as well.
We did also get one more question.
Okay. Let me check. All right. So Claire asked, so you talked about updating the content of my website to be perceived as valuable, but by the search engines and aligning it with the searches that are pinging and adding blogs. Are there any other recommendations for content additions or descriptions of the website? Yeah, I mean, I like to just let people know, you want to reflect what your offline business is online. So you want to put your personality online. You want to, any frequently asked questions that people are, kind of come across as you're talking different clients or prospects. That's something that you want to add onto the website. You could either have a frequently asked questions page, or you could add a blog post with the topic of frequently asked questions. Really, the goal is to bridge the gap between your offline business and your online business so that you know your business very well. How do you make sure that that business is represented on your website? So there's no real this number of words or this, cadence of posts, but it's something that I just encourage people to not just use their website as a shingle that's, just sitting there static and not being updated. You want to update your website as often as, somebody maybe says, oh, I looked at your website and, this, paragraph or something pointed out that, doesn't really align with what you said or you say often or something like that. You want to just kind of remind yourself to go look at your website. It's a hard thing. I know it's cobbler's shoes situation. I'm terrible at looking at my own website, and it's definitely been a struggle to get things updated. But that's one reason why SEO coaching is something that I've been working on launching, is because sometimes you need a outside perspective on your website to really be able to improve it. So yeah, I just encourage people to update as much as you can. And then when you're verified with Google, even if you're changing out a small piece of your website, you can go in there and let Google know straight to the horse's mouth that you changed something. And the act of actually submitting an index, requesting indexation to Google Search Console is actually, basically letting Google know you're a living, breathing business. And like I mentioned, from post-pandemic, there's a lot of websites out there that are still live and just not in business. So Google needs to know how to tell the difference between a website that's just sitting there static with a business behind it versus a website that's representing a business and somebody just paid in advance and they didn't go ahead and take the website down. So
Fantastic. Good. Thank you for the question and thank you for the thorough response. Any more questions? Going once, going twice. Give it a little bit. Oh, yes, there is.
all right.
There we go.
Okay, so somebody wants to know, do you think SEO is a better strategy than pay-per-click marketing? I'd say it's an ecosystem and it depends on the ROI for each one, but it's also depending on, how people are finding you. So again, I'll have to say it depends. It's not a better strategy overall. It really depends on if it's bringing you leads. I say that SEO is at the core of what I believe marketing should be, where you're using your website to build a transferable asset for your business. So you own the website, you can get visibility to the website through pay-per-click or through SEO. SEO is a much longer term strategy. It's more of an investment. It's more of something that will help you convert. As Karen mentioned, people are going to use your website to vet you. So if you have a PPC strategy now, SEO can actually improve that strategy, improve the results, because you're looking at your landing page and figuring out what the messaging should be and helping people vet it. So I would recommend, if you're using PPC now, I'd love to take a look and see how it's working for you, and how we can leverage the data from PPC to help you have an SEO strategy that will get you long-term results that you don't have to keep paying for.
Very cool. Also just wanted to acknowledge, yeah, you've gotten a few shout outs today and I think they're totally deserved. Shout out from the chamber and a personal thank you for this offer of a free SEO score card to chamber members. I think from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate that sort of like inter-community support, and it's an amazing resource. So I encourage anybody to take advantage of it. If there are no other questions, I mean, feel free to put any last minute questions in the chat. But seeing none, I think we're good to start wrapping up. Okay. Thank you all so much for attending. We had a really good, active crowd today, and I really appreciate it. Thank you again to JC for hosting this webinar and sharing their knowledge. As mentioned, this will be available soon in the future for people to look back upon, and also for anybody who is not able to make it. So have a great Wednesday. Thank you again. Thank you, JC. Any last words?
No, I'm just happy to share my knowledge and get more involved in the community, and I'm happy hoping that we'll have another topic to discuss in a month or two. So we'll definitely send out an email to let people know to sign up for that.
Heck yeah. Love and context. Really appreciate how much you guys have been working with us. Feel free to reach out to me or JC if you have any more questions. And other than that, Have a great rest of your day, guys. Goodbye.
All right, thanks, everybody.